Welcome back, my friends, to Manny's Irish Pub Sports Betting Show, where we simply just provide winners. Our show record now is 80, 48, and one push for 62.5%. And that's one hell of a record when you figure it's over 40 shows. And Jesse Scholl's been a big part of that. We may be joined by Mr. Finn, something in the studio where he's at now. Had to be redone. I guess maybe his makeup wasn't good. Not sure, but these things happen. It's this time of year, and schedules are quite full, to say the least. We might have Dr. Chuck. I haven't heard from him, but I sent him the link. It'd be great if he could join us for a few minutes. And Jesse, you may notice that I have now paid off my wager. I have Iowa football in the background here. It cost me almost $10,000 to get that wall made for you, and that was a very expensive bet. And I initially felt just like, why did Clifford have to get injured in this game? Why couldn't he have gotten hurt like in 2 weeks or something? But that's nasty to say, and I'm not nasty, and nobody on this show is nasty. But that was just one of those games. It was a tale of two halves for sure. The backup for Penn State, would never throw any kid under the bus. He just seemed a little bit unprepared, overwhelmed in that situation. And you could tell that Penn State was just trying to hold on to the lead that they had going into the third quarter, and it just wasn't gonna go their way. But as we were talking, Penn State still has Ohio State coming up. So for Penn State fans, you still have a great opportunity to make it to the Big Ten championship, win over them, and then, running the slate out would do it. And if Clifford is able to play and not play hurt, I think they have as good a chance as Michigan or Ohio State to represent the East Division of the Big Ten, which, by the way, 4 of the top 10 teams in this week's poll are from that division. So it is kind of crowded with 4 teams in one division in that particular part of the country. But it is what it is. And, as we've talked before, Jesse, the fact that Iowa is ranked number 2 right now, or Georgia's number 1, Alabama number 5, what have you, means nothing, because Ohio State is in the top 10 again after dropping as low as 18 because of one loss. That was out of conference to Oregon, but now they're storming back up the standings. So the standings don't take into consideration the future matchups, and they really don't mean anything even when the college football playoff comes out with their first one, which I think will be after this week. It still doesn't mean anything because like I said, you have Penn State going to Ohio State. That's going to be a tough game for Penn State to win, but that gives Ohio State all the motivation in the world to win that game, because if Ohio State then wins over Penn State, they control their destiny to the Big Ten championship. So we got a long, long way to go. So are you going to gloat in your victory?
No, I mean, I got lucky. I got to admit. I got to admit it. I was on Amazon at halftime looking for Penn State merchandise that I was going to have to wear today. So I feel fortunate that the situation happened as it did. But that being said, you were pretty sure that it's going to be a blowout, and even before the injury to Clifford, it was still a competitive game. And I mean, I guess what prompted me to suggest this friendly wager was just that I felt, as Tony felt, that you were a little overconfident.
I was, and I still don't know how to define Iowa and where they're at. I was talking to Finn yesterday.
Continue to say that they're lucky, though. I mean, as much as I admit this was, things happened in their favor for them to come back in this game, but how many wins have to pile up before you have to say, maybe they're playing well enough to put themselves in position for these things to happen.
Exactly. And there's always teams that do that. There's teams that do that in every single sport we follow. Sometimes you have that magic wand and sometimes you don't. Sometimes that magic wand actually comes in the form of the will to win, just a refusal to lose the game. And Texas A&M now comes to mind when I think of refusal to lose with their big win over Alabama. And
Sure, you sneak that in there.
yeah, I mean, I don't hype too much because there's a big difference between hype and actual facts. And it took me till Thursday night to really put Texas A&M as my 10-unit play because I've only given out 3 in my entire history at Sports Memo, and fortunately, all 3 have won. But when I started looking more at the individual matchups, everybody thinks I'm a numbers guy, machine learning, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I have predictive models that help me. But then when I go into the fundamental matchups and I start seeing stuff that doesn't agree with the numbers, then the play gets downgraded or it gets eliminated and it doesn't make the final card. But in this particular case, this one did. And I just love when it is true to say that 14 years now I've had a dog of 17 and a half or more points win outright. And last year was LSU going into the swamp, 24.5-point dog. I think the best one, though, that comes to mind, because somebody asked me that. And I would have to say when Tim Tebow and his Florida Gators lost at home to Mississippi, whatever year that was. And then he had this speech, where he said, "You will never see this team play this poorly ever again." And they didn't. And that was one of the true leadership speeches I think in college football I've ever heard. But that particular game, nobody in their right mind would think that that's possible, that team is going to go in there and upset number 1 Florida, but they did. And it just happens a lot more. In fact, maybe tomorrow I'll show from the database how many times a dog of 20 or more points actually wins outright in every single season going back, let's say, 20 seasons. It'll surprise everybody that doesn't already know the answer. We're used to the NFL,
I did have a
Jesse.
nice dog last week as well with
No, go ahead.
Florida State. Since we're going to puff out our chests, might as well
go ahead.
Remind everybody I had Florida State plus 17 and a half, and some of the Tar Heels fans were giving me a hard time in the comments section, but I told John I'm batting 1,000 when the other team's fans give me a hard time.
Yeah, keep that in mind, guys. Sometimes we all have our opinions, and it's fun to converse with everybody. And that's what is making these videos fun, because we're getting more interaction after the video is done. And that's what makes a market. Some people will buy Apple stock. Some others would take profits. There's no right or wrong way to do things. There's not one set of rules that says you must do this, 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 and this if you want to be a successful professional sports bettor. There is no such thing like that, and that's one of the many things that makes it so enjoyable, because we learn from each other. And these shows hopefully have done the same with the viewers, and our numbers keep getting higher and higher, especially the Sports Memo TV platform on YouTube, where Jesse and I do shows. Jesse, Dr. Chuck, and myself, Don Buster of Buster Sports, Mad George, and Jimmy Adams, Adam Trigger. And I'm sure I'm missing a few, but those shows have done extraordinarily well, and we are 23-5 against the spread over the last 3.5 weeks in those shows. And you can't make it up. You can go watch the shows and add up the record yourself. It comes out to 23-5. And I actually had somebody send me a direct message saying that I was wrong. That it was actually 24-5. So when you do these records, you certainly want to err on the side of being conservative, especially with closing lines, where if we put it out on the show at 3 points, and then all of a sudden the closing line is 7. That makes it hard to grade, but fortunately we haven't had that kind of situation hit us. But I know you want to talk about NHL, and I'm glad you do, because it's it's another sport. It's refreshing. We talk about baseball for so long during the summer months, and then we get into college football, and that's great. And then the NFL starts, and that's even better having both of those running. But now we have the NHL, and next week we have the NBA, and I believe the week after that is college basketball. So we're starting to really get busy, and that means we're going to be doing a lot more shows. But if you don't know about Sports Memo TV, go to YouTube, and I could put the link here in the show. But if you just put in Sports Memo TV, it'll come right up, and you'll see our great handsome faces. But in the NHL, Jesse, you told me you wanted to talk about a game involving Jets and Ducks, and this is taking place tonight at 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We had opening night last night, which was cool. And this is at the Honda Center in Anaheim, California. Winnipeg comes in as a -140 road favorite on the money line. The over-under in terms of goals is 5.5 goals. What do you see the best bet to make, Jesse? Is the Jets or the Ducks?
Well, I'm looking at the Jets as just a small favorite on the road in the season opener. I think the Jets are a team that is a true Stanley Cup contender, whereas the Ducks finished last place in their division last year in the West Division. The Ducks haven't really changed much up. They've got some young players. They might be a little more competitive, but they're certainly nowhere near a Stanley Cup contender. The Jets, on the other hand, have shored up their defense. They picked up a couple 30-year-old veterans in Nate Schmidt and Brendan Dillon. And, of course, the Jets have a legitimate Vezina goaltender. And they have they have quietly one of the best forward lines in the NHL. You don't think of names like Mark Scheifele and Blake Wheeler, Dubois. These aren't the flashy names like Connor McDavid and Sidney Crosby, but they produce. They're up near the top of the league in scoring every year. They're gritty. The Jets are a team with a lot of fight, and I think they're going to want to get off to a positive start. And I think only early in the season will you see a team like Winnipeg against a team like Anaheim at such a short price. So take advantage of it while you can.
So you like the Jets to beat the Ducks tonight?
You betcha.
Yep. I'm going to put that down as a show bet. Is that okay?
You betcha.
Yep. Winnipeg, the Jets. And what are we seeing for a reasonable money line? -140?
It is -140, yeah.
Okay.
Line that I was going with.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Hockey, like I said, it's great that it's back, and I can't wait for the NBA to start up next week. Of course, we have the drama all over the region of Philadelphia with what the heck is going on there. But no sense talking about it. I think, as a show, we should just sit back and wait and see what in the world happens over the next couple of days, whether he's part of the team or whether he gets traded. And it's kind of crazy. And then we also have, Ben Simmons. Yep. I will say this. I asked this on the show yesterday of Mr. Finn. I think I asked you guys actually earlier today, probably before we went to record our shows, was that there's 3 guys in NBA history that have started out their first 4 years averaging 7 assists, 7 rebounds per game on average in each of the first 4 seasons, and double digits in scoring or higher. Double digits. Obviously, you know who one of them is already, because I wouldn't have said the trivia question if he wasn't one of them. But do you have any guesses for the other 2?
Repeat it again. 7 assists.
Averaging 7 or more assists per game for 4 consecutive seasons, 7 or more rebounds per game for 4 consecutive seasons, and double digits to start their career for the first 4 seasons of their career. There's only 3. And there's Dr. Chuck. Look at this shirt.
Hey, guys.
What's going on?
Braun's got to be on the list.
Nope.
No.
Oh, is it the same trivia?
I give up.
It is Oscar Robinson, who's the first triple-double machine, and Magic Johnson, who also couldn't shoot the basketball during those 4 years.
Are you at the gym, Chuck?
What'd you say?
Are you at the gym?
No, I am at girls' gymnastics practice.
Well, that's the gym.
I was like, yeah, I am at the gym, I guess. Yeah. So.
Tom and Johnny and Ed and Colin.
It's Radiohead.
Ah, nice. Nice shirt. Do you like my background?
Jesse, you got Ben Simmons, I assume, right, Jesse?
Well, that was the trivia question. Ben Simmons along with who else? But Oscar Roberts kind of before my time, so obviously before your time too. I'm not quite as familiar with his
can't hear you guys.
You can't hear us? Can you hear me?
Keep talking. I'll figure this out somehow.
All right, Chuck. Well, what do you think of his banner there, his Iowa banner? You like that?
Oh yeah, I love it. I was pretty pumped that he went for another Iowa game today with Buster on the show, but he went with the total. Didn't he didn't fade him and take Purdue. I was waiting for it. He is this is going to be a debacle if they make the CFP for Johnny.
Well, I told him. I said eventually.
Johnny Detroit or
no, for you.
Oh, for me? Hey,
I'm with you. I don't think they will. I'm just saying. I mean, it just keeps happening over and over.
I'll be about as arrogant as I possibly can right now. I mean, I avoided Iowa, right? I said play the under.
Yep.
But what do I know in college football and the NFL? I mean, I'm hitting 65% of the last 95 plays, and betting guys, please do not hear this. Just do not hear this. But for the first time, I think in my life, I actually am number 1 on the 3-day, 7-day, 30-day, all sports, college football, NFL.
That's where you got to be.
And that's why you play the effing under in the Purdue game against number 2 Iowa. And I'm not going to say it, I could be really obnoxious and say, Jesse, Iowa will be lucky to score 10 points against Purdue. But that'd be sour grapes. But I kind of like this banner. It's starting to grow on me in the background.
Purdue might be lucky to score 10 points as well, though.
Well, that's true. That's
So I like the under, by the way. What's the number?
43.
Pretty low number though, but it might be on my list.
How about that? There's a 39 hanging in the Army-Wisconsin game. How about that? And I think under's the play.
There's some kind of freaky trend with the armed forces games that if there's an armed force, if it's between the 3 of them, I guess, Army, Navy, and Air Force, that the under is something like 37-5 or something stupid.
Well, just the Army Navy game period. They drop it every single year, and it's 18 straight.
Yeah.
I mean, that total might be 30 this year.
Yep, and that'll be at least a pizza money bet.
Yeah.
And these things run their course. They go. You see coaching trends. Now Harbaugh's on Monday night continued because he won. But he's like 16-3 in primetime games as a coach of the Baltimore Ravens. Against the spread, I think it was. Well, I think now it's 15-4. So a really incredible number. But those numbers run the course, and then they turn the other way, or they level out. Chicago White Sox against left-handed pitchers. What was that? 22-1. And then they basically played 500 for the next 10 games.
That fizzled out fast,
So that, that is what it is. Yeah. What do you think? Did you hear Jesse's hockey pick on the Winnipeg Jets?
No, what you got? All right, so that's the what? Who they have? Canucks?
No, they're on the road at Anaheim tonight.
Yeah. And you're taking them?
Yeah, I mean it's low hanging fruit as far as I'm
Yeah.
concerned. I mean, the Jets are a legit Stanley Cup contender, and the Ducks finished last in their division last year. It's not like they've added any great pieces. It's the same old story for the Ducks. Getzlaf's 36 years old. He doesn't do much anymore, and they still got John Gibson between the pipes. They're not really much different than they were when they finished last year.
No, exactly. I mean, yeah, it's like you said, it's low hanging fruit. It's not 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 going to be fun to bet the Ducks at all. I mean, I think their over under is 69 points or something like that, 69 and a half points. So maybe 70, but that's not a team that's going to get a lot of, especially if they're barely. I mean, you're having to only get $1.25 on them. That's not worth it.
Yeah, that's one thing I mentioned is the price is 140, so and that's because it's so early in the season. But give it 6 weeks. In 6 weeks from now, if the Jets come back to Anaheim and the Jets are at the top of their division and the Ducks are where you expect them to be, you can expect to lay 160, 170 for the same two teams in the same venue.
Yeah,
That's good stuff.
I know it's sad, no baseball today. It's a rough day.
Yeah, but tomorrow we make up for it tomorrow with Game 5. I mean, that series seemed inevitable to go 5 games.
Yeah.
If you think on a positive
wins.
note, though, it gives you a chance to catch your breath, and catch up on it.
Yep.
Not even action. Yeah, there's not action. There's not baseball. There's just a small slate of hockey and catch your breath.
Mm-hmm. Get geared up for the weekend.
How about if we segue over to the NFL game tomorrow night, which is in Philadelphia? And this, at least for me, this line was kind of puzzling when it first came out at 6.5 as Tampa Bay. It was 4-1. They only lost that one game, which was kind of I guess I'd call it a clunker. Philly is 2-3, but 2 of the 3 losses have occurred at home, where they're 0-2. And initially, it seems like a really, really tough assignment for Philadelphia to pull off the upset win. But the fact that it was 6.5 and it's now up to 7, it just I'd rather bet Tampa Bay -10. If the opening line was 10, I would have thought, all right, that makes sense to me. But 6.5 just was tempting me to take Philly. So, you guys have any opinions on that game tomorrow night?
Well, I had Carolina on Sunday, and I can tell you in the box score they say that the Eagles won last week, but I'd say that Carolina lost. The Eagles really didn't deserve to win. The Panthers kind of gave that game away, and I wouldn't expect Bruce Arians' Tom Brady team to follow suit there. I mean, they're up against a much tougher team, and Jalen Hurts still hasn't showed me that he's capable of going in and upsetting Tom Brady.
Yeah. So I kind of fall. I fall. Everything okay, John?
Yep. Yeah. I'm just turning off the. My phone is grabbing my headset.
I definitely fall in the not gonna. Like Ski would say, if I'm playing them, I'm laying them. I definitely fell on that group of, holy cow, the Dolphins are getting double-digit points at home. Why are the Bucs laying double-digit points yet? What have we seen for them to lay double-digit points? And I didn't hammer it, but I mean, I also rank the Dolphins a little bit ahead of the Eagles. So, what's going to make anyone want to get Philadelphia only plus a touchdown when we know they can make mistakes and we know you can shut down a one-dimensional team like that, and that's kind of what Arians can do. And Tom Brady's, just on another world. I don't. There was an article saying, are they asking too much of Tom Brady? But it's still just the beginning of October. I mean, he's gonna shred them. He's gonna shred them, and to cover 7, Philly's gonna have to be in the 30s, right?
I would have to think the game's an over, like a 35-28 game.
So I don't know if I'm eager. I mean, at plus money, it's kind of enticing. I don't know if I'm eager to lay 7 on the road on a Thursday game with an old man, even though he's amazing with a sore thumb. But how could you how could you be excited to hold a +7 Eagles ticket tomorrow?
I would like to know. I think he's probably the fastest he's ever been right now because he's outrun linebackers out of the pocket. Whereas
Yeah.
before, even 5, 6, 7 years ago, he would go down and not take the hit. But now he's actually, going out to the right and outrunning them. And I wonder what the difference between his 40 time was in the combine coming out of Michigan and what it is now.
Wasn't it like 5.5?
It was terrible. I mean, it might have been higher. I know he fell over a cone doing the what do they call that? The serpentine test. He fell over a cone. But yeah, I'm sure we could probably look that up. We could probably watch it on YouTube too. But I bet you he runs under like a 4.9 now, 4.8. At 43 years of age. I mean, even Finn can't run that fast. Even when a police officer is going after him.
Then he might.
Yeah, I mean, he just looks like he does not look 43. He does not look like Peyton Manning when that was Savage last year, kind of still one of the best ever certainly, but he had problems even getting the ball out on a screen pass. A 30-yard pass was not there anymore. But it seems like Brady could, if he stays healthy, he'd probably play next year.
Yeah, similar. I mean, Breeze looks similar. You're thinking that I could see him hanging on here, but please retire type stuff.
Right.
And it's not even. I mean, there was actually no reason. When Manning won that ring, there was a good reason for him to walk away in the sunset. There was no reason for Brady to retire last year. Like he out Mahomes to Mahomes.
Yes, he did. Well, it's the city of champions, Tampa Bay is.
Yeah.
Maybe not in baseball this year. So let's see. My opinion on tomorrow night's game is, as you can tell, is leaning towards the over. And short week, I think Philly probably has enough offensive weapons with Jalen Reagor, Quez Watkins, and Devontae Smith. They can do some damage to that secondary. But is it enough to overcome what Brady will come back with? I agree with you guys. I just, like you said, Ski said it, right? If you're going to play it, you lay it.
Yeah. Well, and I think this might be underrated, and they are at home, but I think Goddard's out, which, for a young quarterback, it's not a...
I don't know if he's officially out yet, because is he?
I don't know.
COVID.
I was thinking...
COVID test, and if he takes... I think there was enough time, I understood. I could be wrong. There was enough time for him to take the 2 COVID tests, and if they came back negative, then he'd be okay to go.
Okay.
And he is vaccinated.
Right.
But you're right. If he doesn't go, then it's not a it's not a good thing for him. I was just looking at a message from Las Vegas Chris. He was thinking he could possibly come on the show, but something came up. But maybe tomorrow we'll have him come on and talk some NFL. That'd be probably better on tomorrow anyway, given the game tomorrow night.
Yeah.
So anything else you guys want to talk about, or should we do our best bets for the show and call it a night? I think we should do best bets and call it a night.
Yeah.
Unless you guys want to bet on bowling or something like that.
Close. CFL.
There's a lot of...
Very close.
I used to bowl a lot, and as you guys probably know, and there's a lot of money exchanging hands, especially at the tournaments. There's more money to be made in the amateur tournaments, especially up in Long Island, than there is on the tour. And the tour is getting better for bowlers, of course, but there's just so many. I mean, some of these tournaments could have upwards of 900 brackets. So imagine 8 guys in one bracket, and there's 900 of them, and they range in price from $5, $10, $20, $50. So these guys get staked, literally with 10 grand, and come in and get in every single bracket. And if there's first and second payout for the brackets, and it's not unusual for somebody to be leaving a bowling alley in those big tournaments with excess of $25,000 in cash. on the first day.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty
On the
nuts.
first day.
It's pretty nuts. But they also make the lane conditions very, very difficult. There was a lady pro and another guy that was a pro bowler. Chris Haney was his name, actually. They tied for the 96th spot, and the top 96 in this tournament made it to the elimination rounds. So imagine two pros, lady and man, going head to head to break a tie, and the winning score was 157.
Really?
It was the conditions were very, very difficult. I mean, you missed your mark by half an inch, and you had to worry about the ball going into the gutter.
Really?
It was very oily and very dry. So they, with those machines, they can change the patterns drastically. Yeah. But anyway, that's boring stuff. It is really boring stuff.
Nah.
But
betting.
we do have golf tomorrow, but I haven't had time to run my model. But maybe I'll do a show tonight. If my eye's looking pretty bad though. I had a contact
I got something
lens.
for you, John.
Yeah, go ahead.
Back to our discussion about Penn State, when you said don't worry because they can still make the Big Ten championship game, and I said, well, didn't the Big Ten put Ohio State in the playoffs despite not winning the Big Ten title? That was 2016, and you should know that because it was Penn State beat Wisconsin in the Big Ten championship game, and they sent Ohio State to the playoffs, lost 31-0.
Oh.
Remember that? Back in 2016.
Well, if nothing else, that proves that I am not a homer.
Well, that was that Ohio State. Yeah, I mean, and that was a gross Ohio State team. Clemson made them look like JV.
Yeah, but what was the circumstances that
Penn State upset Ohio State 24-21. That got them into the championship game against Wisconsin, and for some reason, I think Ohio State was a one-loss team that didn't make their championship game, and the committee just picked Ohio State, said they're better than their conference champion.
How many losses did Penn State have?
Well, I can look that up, but it might take a second.
You know what? I think if you're looking it up, I'll look this up too. This will be fun, and then we'll just do. There really isn't really anything to bet on other than the hockey game that Jesse gave out. Come to think of it, but let's look this up quick as a final thought, because I think this is the year that Penn State blocked a punt and ran it back, and it was at Penn State, and that was how they
were a two-loss team.
Yeah, they came back.
Team in,
I think the Buckeyes were up. Buckeyes were up probably 21-7 late, and it went bad quick.
Yeah, I'm gonna just pull that year up here. It's the beauty of having a database.
Yeah, Penn State was a two-loss conference champion, and Ohio State was a one-loss team that missed out on their conference championship game.
I
remember that constant discussion, and Penn State had a bad one. I can't remember who the bad one was, but it was I think they had a pretty bad loss, and that was just hurting them in this constant discussion.
Yeah. Your seasons.
The Michigan loss was pretty bad, though. It was 49-10.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that may not have been so controversial in hindsight, because Ohio State probably blew out Michigan. Well, they had to, because Jim Harbaugh's never beaten them.
I still think it's controversial, because what's the point of having a conference champion?
Well, that's true. That's true.
If that doesn't make you the champion, advances to the playoffs, then do away with the conference championship.
Well, that's exactly why they put that wording in there, that the committee gets to pick the 4 best teams. I mean, it's Like if the Joe Burrow LSU team was this year, I think you could argue that Alabama, Georgia, and LSU are 3 of the 4 best teams. Like I mean, it's just I don't know. It makes. But Jesse's right. Why do we have these? Why do we have these games? They can only hurt you.
Yeah, it's true. That's true. You're better off being a one-loss Alabama and not getting into the SEC championship game.
Yeah, exactly. Alabama's in trouble because they'll probably still win their side.
It's true.
Well, it's a strong argument for expansion too.
What?
The fact that a conference champion can miss out on the playoffs is a strong argument for expansion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Power Five should have automatic bids for their conference champions, and then when as you say, the best teams then fill up the rest of the spots with the quote unquote best teams.
Yeah, like 3 at large. Make it 8.
Mm-hmm.
That would cover the gauntlet.
We could cover a 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Manny's Pub every single day, Monday through Friday until January, and not come up with anything for that. It's just it's a mess.
Well, it all started with John's reassurance that Penn State's still in it, and I guess me saying what we've seen from the Big Ten. Don't be so sure.
But to John's point, though, the AP polls, the committee, what have they been doing in this committee for 7 years now? They have proved that you have to be named Michigan or Ohio State. Like Wisconsin went undefeated one of the years, Iowa went undefeated one of these years. They're not even looked at. Like TCU did and Baylor did, and I mean, and those are in other leagues. But I mean, I remember watching a Lebitard show once, and he said it doesn't really matter if Wisconsin goes 21-0; they're not getting into the college football playoff. Like they're just not. It's not a. They put that subjectivity in their clause to eliminate boring teams like the Badgers. It's just. It's unfortunate, but
we won't have to worry about that.
That's what's going to happen to Iowa.
And I'm only bringing up Wisconsin up because of Iowa. Like Iowa doesn't have to play Ohio State. They might go undefeated. They might even get to Indianapolis and win the Big Ten. And I guess they'll have to put them in. But
and then you have
I would hope that you'd have to put them in. I mean, I think that you do have to put them in.
Yeah, you do.
I think the Big Ten champion should always be in.
You do. But I also agreed that they had to put Notre Dame in. I mean,
well, at least we got that out of our system. Notre Dame, overrated. Very good football team and program, I mean, they had no chance last year, none, 0. But the thing that the Big Ten, the weighting of the divisions, you have 4 top 10 teams in the East Division of the Big Ten Conference based on the rankings, and everybody knows, and you guys agree that rankings don't mean anything. It does reflect how good they are playing, though, in the opinion of sports writers and other people that follow this stuff. But it doesn't take into effect the schedule coming up. But with Ohio State technically in a tie for first in the conference with Michigan State and Michigan, who is number 8, Michigan State 10, Ohio State 6, Penn State 7. Ohio State has to play Michigan. Penn State plays both Ohio State and Michigan, I believe. Let's check the schedule here. For this year, they have Illinois next. Then they play Ohio State on October 30th at Ohio State. Then they got at Maryland, home versus Michigan. That's right, because it was 2 years ago. I was actually at that Michigan game, and it was. I mean, you haven't seen a football game till you've seen one at night at Penn State. I mean, it's a lot of people. And then they play Rutgers, and then they finish with Michigan State. Michigan State has to play. It's like a round robin, and you could have a 2-loss. Actually, you could have a 2-loss team coming out of that division. Then what are they going to do?
Yeah.
A two-loss conference champion named Ohio State or two-loss Michigan?
If it's Ohio State, they'll still get in
Yeah, I think you're right.
because they're Ohio State.
I probably have to run, and I don't know if I have, I didn't get to do much like Jesse. But if you wanted a free play for hockey for tonight, I would
Sure.
take the Maple Leafs puck line, and
Right.
and fade Andrew McGinnis's Habs off that miracle season from last year, and I think it's a pretty good price. You're going to get like plus 130, and Austin Matthews starts hot. Maple Leafs puck line. See you guys.
See you, man. Thanks, Dr. Chuck. Just writing this down here.
I do like the Leafs, but I don't think Matthews is even going to play.
Well, I don't see Montreal winning that game tonight, but
Well, if you like revenge spots, it's the mother of all revenge spots after the Leafs got ousted in the playoffs by Montreal.
Yep, that is for sure. And then just to finish up, Michigan State has to play Indiana, which I think Don Buster on our show today was calling for the upset in that matchup. That would take Michigan State pretty much out of it because they have Michigan the following week at home. Then they're at Purdue, home versus Maryland, at Ohio State, home versus Penn State. That's a pretty rough schedule for Michigan State to get through without at least one loss. That's kind of why, if Clifford is able to play at the high level he was playing at, then I think it does come down to the Ohio State Penn State game, because if Ohio State wins that and they say they win it by double digits, then they're clearly going to be the favorite to win the Big Ten championship. And if they play Iowa and they run the slate, I wouldn't be surprised if Ohio State was a 14-point favorite based on what we know now. But then again, what do I know? Well, Jesse, we have two
Ohio
plays
State
here.
For their points, but they have looked vulnerable at times as well.
Yeah, they're secondary, and that's a great point. And 2 years in a row, they've been torched in the back end of the secondary with crossing routes, and in fact, they're the same routes that they use on offense to exploit Big Ten opponents. And they'll run that. The legal pick play, for lack of a better word, right at the line of scrimmage with the stack of three wide receivers or two on each side, and that sets up the crossing routes right down the middle. And how many times have we seen touchdowns by Ohio State on anywhere from 40 to 60 yards?
Well, it's not the strength of this Iowa team to take advantage of their secondary.
Yeah. There's no doubt about it. That's another good point, and that's why you can't rule Iowa out of this. I mean, they're undefeated for a reason, and they could be a team of destiny. You just don't know at this point how would they do against Georgia? We all think they'd be like 17-point underdogs, or Ohio State 14-point underdogs. They might be closer to those two teams than anyone thinks.
Maybe at home. I mean, I don't think that Iowa's. I'm not here saying that Iowa's all that, but I just think nobody in the right mind wants to play at Iowa right now. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Yep, I agree. Absolutely. So for this show here, we have the Winnipeg Jets minus 140 from Jesse, and Toronto Maple Leafs from Dr. Chuck on the puck line against the Habs. And I think I'm just going to pass until tomorrow and give out something tomorrow on the Thursday night game. But I did give out we all did. We gave out plays on our shows, and guys and gals, 23-5 on these shows. That's 82%. They're free picks. They're meaningful picks, though. They're about as close as you can get to our premium all access client list as you can get. Sometimes we actually do give out a 4%er that will be on the client list when they receive the picks. So we take the free picks. We're not just just picking a game to break down and that's all it is. We're trying to give you the best that we possibly can. So with that said, Jesse, I thank you for your time, and I guess we'll have to come up with another bet maybe tomorrow. I was gonna say,
I can't make the show tomorrow.
Well, maybe Friday, or maybe we just do. I'll announce the bet, but I was thinking
sorry, no, we're gonna do the NFL picks in the morning. I can do the NFL picks in the morning, just not the pub show in the afternoon.
Yep, that's when we'll do it then. But I know you like to dye your hair pink, and it is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, I believe. And I don't have enough hair to dye my hair pink, probably, but maybe we could do something crazy like that. As long as I know I'm going to win.
Well, if I keep on making these bets, one of these days I'm gonna have to follow through with that. But I'm fearless, so I've already showed up on your show with dyed hair once.
That is true. Yeah, that was the gold hair.
Mm-hmm.
And what was that reason again?
That was the English national team was dyeing their hair.
Oh, that's right.
It was a tribute to Paul Gascoigne.
Yep.
Former
was
England
really cool.
player.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was awesome. All right, well then I'll see you tomorrow for recording the NFL show, and everybody just go check out Sports Memo TV. Make sure you subscribe. We're becoming pretty popular pretty quickly now because we're being recognized as actually providing some meaningful, useful betting advice. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts. At 23-5 speaks for itself. And on this Manny's Pub show, the same thing, 80-48. Just about a 33% ROI because we've given out a lot of Major League Baseball dogs, which is what generally you must do. Also in the NHL, Moneyline Sport 2, you'll see some dogs, I'm sure, coming up from our experts that come on here, like Jesse and Dr. Chuck. And Buster's good at it too. Tony Finn is good at it. I mean, NHL might be one where I just sit back and listen to you guys talk, and I'll just tail you. That would be fun. Anyway, I'll see you tomorrow, Jesse. So on behalf of Jesse, myself, the Predictive Playbook, sportsmemo.com, and wagertalk.com, may all the wins be yours. Thanks for watching.